Welcome to Projects Distilled, where we talk about all things project management. Today, we are going to continue our journey on using artificial intelligence to make us better project managers. We're going to look at ChatGPT, which we've explored before in this channel. We're going to look at Google Bard. That was a laughingstock just a couple of months ago. Now it's ready and it's available, and we're going to see how it does as we tackle project scope. We're going to look at the Bing integration of ChatGPT. It's actually called GPT-4. It's the very latest version from OpenAI. It's got a broader data set. It's more current, but Microsoft has put some guardrails around it. We're going to see how well that product works. So we're going to look at 3 different products, 2 variants of ChatGPT, as well as Google's first introduction into this area, and we're going to see how it does against scope. In order to make this happen, I've created a document that has some basic scope. We're going to do a pretend project. It's a migration from the Microsoft Office suite to the Google Workplace suite of tools, including email migrations and things like that. Let's start with Microsoft Bing and the integration that they have with GPT-4, which is the latest, greatest AI engine from OpenAI. Microsoft is a major investor in OpenAI, and they've been working on integrating it into their entire Office suite. Right now, it's just in Bing. Let's take a look at it. So go to bing.com, and then you'll see a little button for chat. Now, you may need to be logged in with a Microsoft user ID. Once you're there, you can get to their chat engine, and it looks and feels different than the regular ChatGPT engine that we've used in the past. It is a little bit smoother. It doesn't have the appearance of thinking on the fly the way ChatGPT does, but let's take a look to see how well it really does. So here I'm cutting and I'm pasting our information into the Bing box, the chat box. The first thing you'll notice is it takes out all formatting, so it makes it hard to see kind of the breakout between the different tracks that I've created in it. That said, Bing's first output to me is really just a regurgitation of what I said. That makes sense because I haven't actually given it a question yet. I'm trying to train it and show it what I want. So here I've asked it to help me make a change management plan, because switching the primary tools that a company uses to a different set is going to require a lot of change management. We need to have a solid change management plan. So I ask it for a plan. You can see it gave me a really basic list of things, but it did say, would you like more detail behind them? I tried to say yes. I said, yeah, I forgot the S. And it said, I don't know what you're talking about. So I re-asked the question in its entirety, and it gave me a much more detailed look at what that means. It goes through step by step with at least a little brief explanation on each. So that's helpful. It's not complete, but it's helpful. So next, I ask it to make me a project plan that I can cut and paste to make a Gantt chart. And look what it does. And it creates a nice, neat, and tidy Gantt chart. Now it's putting some assumptions in there, and that's what I was waiting to see if it would do. Some assumptions around scheduling. And it's given some basic estimates. But you'll also notice that this Gantt chart has only the last set of data that it gave me, only the change management plan. I wanted a Gantt chart for the broader set of data that I had given it as input. Now I ask it what scope I'm missing, just to see if there's something big that I'm not thinking about as a part of the project scope for the plan. So it gave me a generic but helpful list. I should think about risk management, quality management, things like that. So that's kind of helpful. What I'm going to do now is ask it a very broad question. I have to transition my users from Microsoft Office to Google Workplace. What do I need to do? And let's see what it spits back for us. I've already given it my plan. Let's see if it has ideas of its own. So it gave me kind of a PMI-ish type of look at things. Identify your goals and objectives, plan your migration, train your employees. So kind of restructured it, not a lot of detail, not going to be able to really take and run with it. But I have a feeling that if I were to ask it a lot more questions and really gird down on it, it would be able to provide me enough information that if I was an inexperienced project manager, it could help me to create my project plan. So that is the Bing integration of GPT-4, which is the latest version of ChatGPT. Let's take a look at Bard. So you get to Bard by typing bard.google.com. You may need to be logged in. I had to get on a waiting list because there was such demand for it. I believe it's open to everybody now. Bard.google.com comes up with this interface. And I'm going to tell it that I'm creating a project plan. And I'm going to give it that same set of data that we gave to the Bing GPT-4 engine. And let's see how Bard does. You'll notice that Bard, when you cut and paste, it also has the problem it does not show the subtasks that I had created, so it loses all structure when you do the cut and paste. That's a bummer. It'll be nice when we can actually input documents with some of that structure. I'm sure that that's coming. So Bard has now given us some suggestions about user adoption, about data migration, other things kind of similar to what the Bing engine gave us. But it is a different list. So if you were to use both of them to help you triangulate and find the right things that you should include in your scope, that could possibly be helpful. So then I've asked it to do something kind of complicated. Take the data that I have already put in there, add it to the data that it has suggested, and create a Gantt chart. So that's kind of a multi-step process. Let's see how Google does. So it gave us a Gantt chart, not the most helpful, very high level, but at least it took it created a nicely formatted Gantt chart. It also put in some dates, starting with today's date out to the end of just a couple of months. I don't think that that's a realistic timeline in any way, shape, or form, but it's helpful. So now I'm trying to go back to our original data and get it to put my original data into a Gantt form for me that I can just cut and paste. So I'm asking it to use my data to create a Gantt chart. It said, sure. It says it's showing that there's an image of a Gantt chart. I have no idea how to get to that image. It just says it's there. Maybe there's something that I'm missing about Bard, but I cannot find that document. Then it's just a big barfing out of words. Not nearly as clean as the Gantt chart that it gave me previously or the one that Bing gave me. So now I'm asking Bard the same question I asked Bing. How do I transition a company from the Microsoft Office suite to the Google Workplace suite to see what its suggestions are? So it gave me a list of good but rather generic responses. So Google Bard, it's in there. It's a player. It's doing things. It's not quite as refined, I would say, yet as ChatGPT integration with Bing, the GPT-4. But it created things that we could possibly use. And again, we can use these AI tools as helpers, not as project managers. So now let's go back to our old ChatGPT, which we are most familiar with, and see how it does. In my opinion, ChatGPT should give us the least good experience. I don't want to say bad experience because it's working on older data. It's only current up to 2021. It doesn't have the changes and improvements that GPT-4 has. To get to ChatGPT, the original one, you go to chat.openai.com. You're going to need an account. You're going to need to sign up. They have a premium version that will get you access to GPT-4, the same that is inside of the Bing. We're just using the plane that's open to everybody, and you can see right on the screen that it's experiencing a high volume of data. That's because we're not a paid customer as we're looking at this. So I'm pasting in the same data from our project that I put into the other two engines, and I'm asking it, what scope am I missing? Let's see what it comes back with. It's also giving me some suggestions that I should add to the project plan. So that's great. Right out of the box, it's not saying, I don't know what you understand, things like that. They're good suggestions. They are different than the Bing suggestions. So that shows that there is difference between the underlying logic between the different platforms from the same company. One is an evolution of the other. So now I ask it to create a change management plan. Let's look at how it does. In previous videos, ChatGPT has done a really good job of creating a change management plan. So it's suggesting an introduction with a couple of bullet points, change management objectives. So it looks like it's going through and creating a relatively normal type of change management plan. So here's a communications training plan. It's all in there. So that's good. This is stuff that you can get off of the internet. I don't know that it's adding anything specific. It doesn't look like it's adding anything specific to our project details, but it's good information to have. Now I'm going to ask it to take my project plan and output the data so that I can paste it into a Gantt chart. So that table took a fair amount of time to put together. ChatGPT is not the fastest of the engines. Now I'm going to ask it the most basic question. How do I transition a company from Microsoft Office to Google Workspace? I asked the other two engines this as well. We're going to see how ChatGPT does. Here it's formulating its answer, starting with assess the current situation, define the goals and objectives. So yeah, so it looks like it's going through and giving us good recommendations on things to pay attention to when we make this kind of plan. It's not giving us a Gantt, it's not giving us a detailed project plan, but it's giving us things that we should absolutely take a look at. So now I'm going to ask it to create a Gantt chart with this new and improved information that we have. So to incorporate what it just suggested along with my original data, let's see what it comes up with. Oh, that's interesting. It's actually carved out a window. It looks like it's an SQL window, and there it is. It's creating each task with a start and end date. That's going to be fascinating to see if that's easier to export. So I'm going to hit that copy button when it's done. We're going to skip ahead. So now that it has created its entire table, I'm going to copy it. We're going to open just a G sheet, actually a G doc, and we're going to paste it, and let's see what our data looks like. There it is, out in a G sheet. So that's the export from that table. That's fascinating. I had not seen that before. I think that's a neat feature. All right, ChatGPT versus Google Bard. We actually had two variants of the GPT engine, one associated with Bing, one that was the older version, plus Bard. How did it do? Well, if you were to put my feet to the fire, I would actually say that the older style original ChatGPT is still kind of the most fun. It's fun to watch it think. It's fun to watch it work. It also has, to me, a better memory system on it, where if you ask it something, it can relate back to something you asked earlier a little bit better. The Bing integration worked pretty well, but it felt a little bit locked down. That's good in the sense that it's maturing, but I kind of like the wild west of ChatGPT. Bard was good. There was nothing wrong with it. There was nothing outstanding about it. It is also perfectly acceptable. But if you're talking about best practice, I would absolutely recommend looking at more than one of these engines to answer your question. Maybe do one from the ChatGPT family, and then also Google Bard. That would give you a good way to look at multiple sources, just like you would having an expert. You know, if you were sitting at your desk and you have a colleague, you turn to your colleague and you ask them the question. You turn the other way, ask your other colleague. You're just getting better information if you look at multiple sources. So I highly recommend looking at more than one source. These tools are great for being project assistants right now. There's going to be even more to come. I'm excited about where this technology is going, but for right now, some great things that you can do immediately with Scope. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.